What's up, everyone? Today we have a Honda HRR216. Weird thing about this though, it doesn't have a transmission, like at all. It's not even there. Now I do know that they do make them like that. I've never actually run across one. They've almost always had a transmission in them, but not this one. So this is strictly a push mower, and it doesn't start. I took a look at it real briefly. I pressure washed it because it was underneath this pine tree from the looks of it, and it was disgusting. So now it's dry, it's clean. We could work on it with a little bit more ease. So let's go ahead and go over what I did notice. Handle is broken, and while that's not that important, it is for the fact that if this were to kick back, that's a pretty sharp edge and you can cut your hand pretty decently. So I'm going to be replacing that. So I'm going to go ahead and replace that so you don't really have to worry about it. Now, I haven't smelled the fuel in the tank, but I'm sure it's probably ancient. Half full. It doesn't smell incredibly old. I mean, it smells old, but it's not like barely burnable old. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to put a little carb spray down the throat of the carb. I'm going to put the handle on real quick so I don't accidentally cut myself if it kicks, and then we'll see if this is a good viable motor or engine. It has oil, so we're set to go on there and see what we can do. Put the new handle on. Let's take a look and see what's in here. Ugh. Yeah, it's disgusting. Okay, well, that was to be expected, but we have replacements. So this is a manual choke. I'm going to turn it off, but I do want to have it on full throttle, so I think right there should be pretty good. If you put it on choke, then you're never going to get any carb or any whatever you're using to start the engine in down the throat, at least not very easily. It'll take a whole lot longer. Okay, let's give it a pull. That's no good. Now is it? Let's try this again. Oh, spider. There we go. Hoping it was just the fact that I was running low on. It's trying to. Not a whole lot of compression there. Let us move forward. Let's check for spark real quick. And get something to hold down the handle. I don't see spark. Try a different plug. New plug. Let's see what happens. Definitely seeing spark now. It's not a very good spark, but it's spark. That could be as simple as a bad plug. Can't believe that one. I mean, I can, but it doesn't really happen all that often. I suppose there's the first time for everything. Hopefully you saw that. I mean, I barely did, so. What we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing again. Something to also look into is if you look down the to the connector, to the plug, if it's all rusty and dirty and nasty and not making good metal to metal connection, you're going to have a hard time. Now, I have a pair of clamps holding down the bail so the engine can spin freely and also make sure it doesn't kill it. Well, let's give this attempt number 2. Now the other plug was dry when we checked it too. It was dirty, but it was dry. That was a lot longer than I expected. Also seemed like it was running too fast though. We might check the governor settings just to make sure, but other than that, we potentially have a good motor. So I'm going to discuss something. I pretty much know the fuel's bad and the carb is bad, so I'm going to do this. Something I am noticing is this governor spring really tight. This Honda is still a Honda, but it's a cheap Honda. So I don't really want to spend a whole lot of money on it. So it kind of made me wonder what I wanted to do. In this situation, if I did not have what I'm going to mention in a couple minutes, I would most definitely be cleaning the carburetor. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I have a whole video on cleaning the carb for this style of engine. But considering, let's do this first real quick. Wow, this is really stuck. There we go. But considering that I put a Honda carb on the previous engine, gave it back to the owner, and the owner brought it back to me 2 days later, I was thinking, wow, what happened? What did I do? And he's like, so bad news. I hit a big root. And now when I start it, it just shakes really bad. And I was like, I don't know, that's not usually good. So we looked, bent crankshaft. So he is pretty much not going to be able to be using that for any more mowing. At least I would assume so. So I told him that, asked him what he wanted to do, and he said, I'll just recycle it, I'll buy a new one. I'm like, sounds good. I'm like, what do you want to do with the mower? Can I take parts? He's like, yeah, go right ahead, take whatever you need, recycle it, burn it, I don't care. I'm like, will do. So I have a carb that has maybe 10 minutes on it to replace this with. I'm hoping it's the same. It came off a self-propelled version of this motor. Excuse me, self-propelled version of this lawnmower. Voila. Or is that a ta-da? I never can remember. Let's just say it's a ta-da. And if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure, sorry, you're gonna just need a whole lot of hand here. Pretty sure this is a fairly decent aftermarket carb. We're gonna find out here shortly. Just trying to remember if the choke arm went on that one or the other one. Let's see, so this goes up, goes that way, choke, turns on, goes that way. Okay, I think we're good. But like I said, if that's not an option for you, you don't want to spend the money for a new Honda carb or a cheap aftermarket carb. Oh, I don't have the gasket. Then you should definitely be cleaning. Let me try to find a new gasket. Found a new gasket. My apologies. I'm not being able to see a lot. Don't you worry though. I can't see a lot either. So don't think I'm getting the greatest view in the house either. Usually at this point I should try to plug the crankcase vent back in. There we go. That way it's still a little pliable and it's easier to install. If you don't, then you're going to have probably the very minimum, a dirty mower. And more probable, you're going to have an entrance for dirt and dust and bugs inside your motor or your engine, excuse me. That's never a good thing. So I think I'm going to take off this fuel line because it looks pretty nice actually, and we're going to take a sample of fuel and see if we need to replace it. Let's take a look now. Have to be careful, this is plastic obviously, so you don't want to break it. And it's a good fuel line, so I also don't want to break that or ruin it. Man, this is insanely have a long barb. There we go. Now let's take this off and take a look. The dirt was just from the something that is interesting is I don't think this cap is venting very well. Because as soon as I take it off, it just flows, but yeah, that's not great. It's not bad, but it's not great. I think I am going to empty the rest out and then put some new stuff in. So I'll do that and bring you back. Something to note is right here, the throttle spring was on the second hole and it sounded like it was running a little fast, so I put it closer. That's going to put less tension, so hopefully our RPMs goes back to a normal level. We are set. So I'm going to let the carb fill up a little bit. Just turned the fuel on not too long ago, so we'll let it sit. like we said, we didn't really have the greatest fuel flow. I'm going to let it run for about 10 or 15 minutes outside. Oh, probably would help if I put the air filter back on. And if I notice it's starving for fuel, then I know the fuel cap isn't venting right. I don't think that choke's engaging all the way. Doesn't seem like it is. It's not engaging hardly at all. Nope, no adjustment needed. I'm just an idiot. The choke linkage was on the wrong hole. I swear that's the first time it's happened. Anyway, let's move forward. It's on choke. And let's try it. Maybe that brand new carb isn't very brand new after all. I decided to look into that cap a little more, and because it seemed like it was definitely starving for fuel, and it was pretty low. So I decided to replace the cap, and while I was in there, I looked at the little screen. It seemed fine. So let's try this again. Let's see if we need choke. Still seems like it might be running a little fast. Hey, look, a slug. Anyway, there's a way of testing it. I don't really like the way, so I'm going to do it on the floor. I'm going to put the... You know what? I'm going to readjust the governor real quick. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a pair of pliers and a 10mm ratchet or socket or pretty much anything. And then we're going to loosen the nut back here. Oh, that was on there pretty good. I know the fuel line's in a way, I apologize, but trust me, you'll know what I'm talking about. So now, full throttle, which it is right there. And then that little shaft in the center, we twist it all the way clockwise. And it was a little bit off. Now, very carefully, going finger tight in the nut, and then equally as carefully we're going to tighten it back up. That's not tightening. A small amount can make a big difference. Something else we could check is, obviously if this is in a wrong selection, that's going to be an issue. But also on the other side, people have a tendency of bending them in, so we could bend it back out to put even less pressure on it. But this looks to be pretty normal, so I'm hoping we just had a bad governor set up. Try it again. Same as before. Try no choke. Nope. Seems pretty normal. Okay, so what have we learned today? Well, we learned that a cheap carb sometimes can be a good thing. Seems to work fine. Learned that semi-aged fuel is okay in these machines. It would run a lot better on fresh fuel, don't get me wrong, but it will still run just fine on what fuel is in there. But ideally you would replace it, not going to go around that bush. And then on top of that, your handle, you don't want it broken, because if it were to kick back, you don't want to cut yourself. And 4, we learned how to adjust the governor real quick like. So other than that, I think we're set to go. I'm going to sharpen the blade because I could definitely feel a little bit of a vibration. I looked at the shaft earlier because I couldn't pull on the pull cord, at least I didn't want to, and it doesn't appear to be it appears to be straight, so it's not like bent or anything, so I'm happy with that. But this works on pretty much any Honda. So if you like what you see, keep watching, subscribe, catch me in my next video, follow me on Small Engine 101 on Instagram. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good night.